Coming to you live from the Mistopheles Studios, it's Dark Fringe Radio.
And welcome to Dark Fringe Radio. I am your host, Will Martinez, and thank you for joining us tonight on Dark Fringe Radio. And listen, we got a special one for you tonight, and man, it's going to be a really good episode. But before we get into all that, of course, my co-host with me every week, as always, Jay Galosi. Jay, what's going on, brother?
Hola, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien. So, yeah.
And that's the extent of my Spanish.
Well, man, we got a really special episode of the podcast tonight, man. We scored a huge interview with Mr. Steve DiSchiavi from the Travel Channel's The Dead Files. So we'll be getting to that interview later on. But before we do all that, Jay, you know we got to do the little intro and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, man. Mailbag. Will you tell me? Get pumped for the interview. It's going to be a great episode. Great episode. I'm really excited.
Absolutely. So let me remind everybody how you can follow us on social media. We're available on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All you have to do is look up at Dark Fringe Radio, and you can find all our information there. We're constantly posting new information, new things that are coming up in, horror movies, anything to do with conspiracy theories, UFOs, secret societies, all that stuff. We post that on those social media, so make sure you follow us and you share all our information and you tell a friend or foe about us. So we appreciate you guys doing that. And how to listen to the podcast, Jay? How do they listen to us? How do these people get this greatness of audio quality in their ear? Just, orgasmic quality, just podcasting orgasmic quality in their ear. How do they get this unbelievable stuff, man? Please.
You are high on the hog tonight, bro.
Oh, yeah.
That is this orgasmic ear fucking of a podcast. The way you get it is you can go anywhere you get podcasts.
By the way,
Google Play,
trademark,
Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of it. You can get all of it straight up in your ear bone.
That's right. And you can just make sure you subscribe when you go to any one of those outlets to listen to our podcast. Subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and make sure you leave a comment. It really helps us out, and it's your way to pay us back for a very quality podcast for free. So we appreciate you guys doing that. So that's it for the intro, Jay. Anything else you want to add?
No, just keep those comments coming in. We've been getting a lot of support. The support has been increasing episode by episode, so we really appreciate that.
Well, listen, that brings us to...
Hey,
yeah.
You started this shit. You started it.
I did.
Now you got to do it.
I'm guilty as charged. So that brings us, of course, to the next segment of the podcast, which is the mailbag, of course. Jay, are you ready for the mailbag?
Send me a postcard, drop me a line.
As ready as Freddie Mercury would be ready for a mailbag, sure.
Oh, boy. So the first one comes from Taylor Burton, by the way, of Buffalo, New York. And Taylor has to say, subject of the email is Bilderberg Group. So the Bilderberg Group. You know a little bit about the Bilderberg Group there, Jay?
Bilderberg?
Yeah, Bilderberg.
Or Build-A-Bear?
No, not Build-A-Bear. Bilderberg. No,
it's Build-A-Berg.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought you were saying Build-A-Burr, and I'm like, I've never heard of Build-A-Burr. Build-A-Bear? Got you. Build-A-Burr? No, Build-A-Berg. No, I do not.
That's my Smirnoff slur going on tonight, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, the Bilderberg Group, trying to enunciate properly. But yeah, no, this Taylor writes, hi guys, Taylor from Buffalo, New York. Don't know if you guys are into secret societies or not, but a pretty interesting thing came out in the news the other day where Donald Trump Jr. Was outed to have actually been attending a Bilderberg group meeting. And as we all know, that is actually one of the secret societies that supposedly, Jay, is manipulating, controlling, advertising, so on and so forth. One of the big ones out there.
Right.
Yeah, so, no, I did see that, Taylor, and thank you for sending in that question for the mailbag. That's great, and we appreciate it. But, yeah, I did see that in the news. I laughed at it, and I could say what? I mean, yeah, I'm not surprised. I see that he attended that meeting. It's obviously out at this point. So, it looks like the Trump administration has infiltrated even the secret societies at this point. So, what do you think about that, Jay?
Either they've infiltrated them or they've been a part of them. For the reasons why Trump is president, and they just got caught with their pants down because, millionaires, wealthy family, banging porn stars, but a bit of a boob, kind of makes some mistakes, doesn't really look like he worries about the tidiness or the, the overall visual of his appearance. Not that he doesn't look good, I mean more the social outlook. Doesn't really give a fuck what people think, and I could see how they might have just let a little bit of the cat out of the bag.
Yeah, that could be it, man. That's a hell of a theory, and a lot of people do subscribe to that theory too, Jay. It wouldn't be surprising. I mean, like a lot of people do say that these presidents are handpicked, years in advance. There's a connection there, and there's a lot of people that have written a lot of books that have uncovered a lot of information that supports this theory. So, that's interesting that you brought that up, Jay. So thanks for, putting your 2 cents in on that one. That's awesome. So next one comes in from Donnie Hilton from Toronto, Canada. So Donnie writes, "Hey guys, writing in from Toronto, Canada, and I was wondering if you guys have seen any horror movies as of late that have actually been of quality. The reason I ask is because last year it seems like horror has tapered. He didn't put that right. It's supposed to be tapered. Tapered off towards the end of the year, and looks like there's nothing else that has come out as of late that was pretty, or worthy as, things of last year. Thanks for the podcast, and I do appreciate it. So thanks, Donnie, for sending that in. That was a pretty confusing email. Just didn't write very well. But anyways, I get what you're saying here, Donnie.
Well, there's a whole French-Canadian to English conversion.
That could be it. But Donnie, listen, thanks for sending in that email. Listen, I have seen the last horror movie I saw was on a plane back from LA, which was called The Prodigy. And that was actually pretty good. I guess you wouldn't call it a horror movie, more of a thriller. But Jay, it had to do with this kid, man, that he ends up being
smacking his bitch up.
Well, no. He ends up being born. He's like this super intelligent kid, but then you kind of figure out why he's this super intelligent kid. Because of kind of like a reincarnation of some kind of serial killer kind of issue. So it's really confusing, man, but it's a fucking really good, thrilling movie, and the end, of course, will leave you with your mouth open. But I definitely would recommend that one. I've seen lately. Have you seen anything like that lately, Jay?
You didn't. Well, first, you didn't get the joke, the Prodigy joke about smack his bitch up.
No, I didn't get that. No, now I get it. Thanks. A little slow tonight, Jay.
So it would have been better had I said he was a fire starter.
That would have been
an instigator.
See, there you go. That would have been it.
My bad.
That's
my bad. I like smack my bitch up better. But either way, I digress. Actually, I don't remember if I talked about this already on an episode. A few weeks ago, my daughter had us watch this movie called Cargo.
Oh, yeah, you did talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, just a kind of quick recap. It's a zombie movie. It's not a zombie movie like any other zombie movie. It shows how people transform from humans to zombies. And it shows this family of 3 trying to survive the zombie apocalypse as the whole world falls apart around them. It's a father, a mother, and then they have this infant daughter. And basically it shows the level of a father's love and how this guy literally, as he's transforming into a zombie, is walking his daughter to safety. Spoiler alert, if you ever watch Cargo, that's basically what happens. But it's still really good. There's a lot of interesting things and twists and turns. I don't know if I consider it a horror per se. And there's not a whole lot of like jump out thrill parts, but there's definitely some tension. There's a lot of depth to the story. The acting is pretty good on some behalf. The main character, the father, I think he does an outstanding job. So it's an entertaining movie. I definitely walked away from it going, that is not what I expected it to be.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's awesome.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. You said that was Cargo, correct? And that was on Netflix?
Correct.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, listen, Donnie, thanks for sending in that email for the mailbag, and I hope we were able to answer your question, Jay's suggestion with Cargo and my suggestion with The Prodigy. So, yeah, check those two out. As far as horror movies are concerned, what we recommend as of late. So, anyway, so that's it for the mailbag, Jay. So, next on our list for tonight, before we get into our interview with Steve DiSchiavi, is, of course, Will You Tell Me? And, of course, for our new listeners, this is a little bit of a segment where Jay asks me a very complicated question, and so I try to answer it to the best of my ability. Either I know the answer or I try to really bullshit my way through it. So, and Jay is of course, the scorekeeper at the end to either tell me I'm full of shit or I'm telling the truth. So, Jay, this week, what do you have for me for Will You Tell Me?
So, for Will You Tell Me, I decided to keep it a little bit lighter. I think last week I went a little too softball on you with the, I can't remember what the hell I asked you.
It's okay.
It's got it right.
It's late. It's okay.
The week before that was The Walking Womb, which I feel like was a little too hard, and both of them were just a little too serious. So this week I tried to lighten it up a little bit. Will, you of course know the song, the classic kid song of Yankee Doodle Dandy, correct?
Yeah, of course.
Will you tell me what the song Yankee Doodle Dandy is about?
What the song Yankee Doodle Dandy is about. I believe Yankee Doodle Dandy was about Paul Revere during the Civil War, or no, of course not the Civil War, but the Revolutionary War. And I believe it was about him. I don't know much more about that, but I believe it was about him. I could be completely wrong.
You are completely wrong, but it was a valiant effort.
It was a valiant effort. Hey, listen, I tried. So what is it about? Who is
it
about?
You did try. So it was actually written in England as a disparaging song about America and Americans.
So it's a diss track about America.
1750. Okay, we were still a colony. We still belonged to Europe, but we were starting to gain. This is where things were starting to turn, and we were starting to have the conversation about stemming off and becoming our own. There was a lot of civil unrest in the Americas over what was happening in England, taxation, improper representation, things like that. So the first stanza of the song goes, Yankee Doodle came to town riding on a pony. He stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. Yankee Doodle, keep it up. Yankee Doodle dandy. Mind the music and the step, and with the girls be handy. So really what it means, in the 1750s, Yankee was a general term of contempt. Doodle refers to a lowly provincial person, somewhat of poor upbringing, poor wealth, and dandy was a meticulously well-dressed man. At least these are according to the 1700s terminology. So as it's roughly translated, basically what it says is this country bumpkin come along on a pony, not a horse, a pony. Thought merely sticking a feather in his hat would turn him into a suave, sophisticated man like a European man.
Mm-hmm.
So the song was meant to piss off and upset and hurt the feelings of the Americans. But during the Revolutionary War in right around 1781, after George Washington won the battle at Yorktown against Lord Cornwallis, it suddenly picked up as more of an American anthem. American soldiers would sing it,
right,
almost in reverse, as this is what you say of us, and yet we're still kicking your ass. It's like the end of 8 Mile.
Yeah, there you
right?
go.
And everybody's been saying about how Eminem is white, and he's poor, and his mom's a slut, and they live in a trailer. And he came out in the final rap, and he's like, I am white, I am poor, my mom is a whore. What do you got to say about it now? I do have nothing to say, and Eminem won. That's basically what happened.
There you go. I like that analogy better. That's awesome. So, well, listen, thanks for that for this week for Will You Tell Me? And you got me this week, Jay, and that's it. So we're going to be getting into next our interview with Steve DiSchiavi of the Dead Files from Travel Channel, and I had a great time with him on the phone, and it was a great interview. I had a great time with Steve. He was a gentleman and also very funny. So I hope you guys enjoy our interview with Mr. Steve DiSchiavi of the Dead Files.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, best-selling author and paranormal researcher, and you are listening to Dark Fringe Radio.
This seems like a possession.
My name is Amy Allen.
Everything was built on blood.
I see dead people.
Very disturbing.
I speak to dead people.
There's victims around him.
Ow. And they speak to me.
Her voice sounds like death.
But there's only one way to know if my findings are real.
The living don't stand a chance here.
I rely on my partner.
I'm Steve DiSchiavi. I'm a retired New York City homicide detective. You could have got killed. And I know every person, every house has secrets.
This is coming straight from hell.
It's my job to reveal them. Your mom was murdered right here in this room.
Yes, she was.
But Steve and I never speak.
We never communicate during an investigation.
Until the very end.
This was just the beginning. When we uncover if it's safe for you to stay,
Oh, my God.
Or time to get out.
They're very bad. This house is going to kill me.
And thanks, Dark Fringe Radio listeners. Wanted to welcome a very special guest to the podcast, one of the stars of the hit Travel Channel television series, The Dead Files. Please give a warm welcome to Mr. Steve DiSchiavi. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Listen, first off, I wanted to say I'm a huge fan. I've been watching since the very first season. It's a big deal to have you on the show, so I really appreciate you coming on. Steve, I did a little bit of background on you. You were born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. You know, you served in the United States Marine Corps, and thank you for your service. And you're also a 21-year veteran of the New York City Police Department as a homicide detective. That's a pretty impressive resume there, my friend.
Yeah, I don't look at it that way, but I guess from the outside looking in, it can be. You know, I never really thought about it much, to be honest with you.
No, I hear you. I understand.
It's just been my life, so I don't think it's any special. People tell me, write a book. I'm like, write a book about what?
Your experiences, the things that you've seen with your eyes. That's what it is.
I guess, yeah. I mean, nothing I do and nothing I talk about has anything to do with the paranormal. I've never had an experience, and, you know.
Oh yeah, we're
gonna
get into that in a second. But let me ask you this: how did you go from being a New York City homicide detective, 21-year veteran, and working on a paranormal television show? How did that go from one extreme to another? Because that is a pretty big extreme.
Yeah, it's a long story. I'll try to keep it brief for you. Basically, ABC News did a documentary on the NYPD, and I was a featured detective in the first episode of a 7-part series that was called NYPD 24/7.
Okay.
So we were being followed with a cameraman for 18 months while I was working homicides, and we were doing missing persons in regards to we're pretty sure the person was dead. And they followed us for 18 months, and a year after that, the show aired. I was still an active member of the homicide squad and working. And that was it. I retired a few months after that happened, maybe a year after, I should say. And then I get a phone call from some guy in Hollywood asking me if I want to do television.
There you go.
It turns out some network executive saw me on this documentary, and he had been pitching this show about a private investigator to them. And he said, well, I saw this guy on television. He'd be really good for TV. And, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, all right, I'll do television. I didn't think it would go anywhere.
Right.
And we did a few pilots together. And, as far as nothing to do with the paranormal whatsoever. I never even thought about the paranormal. And the networks were all like, oh, he's too New York. He's too rough around the edges. Bada beep, bada boop, all this nonsense, So
I get it. I understand.
Next thing I know, he calls me up. He says, listen, there's a show I'm doing. I think you'd be good for it. And he started talking. As soon as he said the word paranormal, I said, let me stop you right there. It's not going to happen. I'm not doing a paranormal show. And, because every paranormal show I've seen, to me, honestly, it wasn't worth watching.
Yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
And nothing to knock anybody, but for me, I'm like, well, I don't find this interesting. Somebody being scared on camera and with a flashlight and listening to some voices and he's running through the hallways or she's running through the hallways. I'm like, okay, how is this supposed to be exciting for me? Or how am I supposed to be interested in this? So for me, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, we discussed it, and I said, listen, if we're going to either do it as far as, well, I'm just doing the investigating part, and that's it. And I have nothing to do with the paranormal end of it, and that's exactly what we came up with. So,
yeah, and I think
that is basically, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between your show and all the others. That's the difference, I believe, and that's what separates your show from everyone else's show, because you just take that side on as your side, and you do a hell of a job, by the way, collecting all that information, going through all that information, doing all the historicals and everything. That's a lot of work, I'm sure. That's what separates, I think, your show from everyone else's when it comes to the paranormal. So that's very intriguing to know that's how it all started with you and getting on the show. Let me ask you this, Steve. You being a 21-year veteran, the homicide department in New York City, I'm sure you've probably seen some pretty horrific crimes in your time there. When you go on location and you start to unravel some of these historicals and documented history and crimes that have occurred, are you surprised to see some of the things that have occurred in some of these like rural areas that you've gone into?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. When it comes to that stuff, I'm shocked by it. I'm like, wow, I can't believe, this guy had 6 bodies of a family he just killed underneath this one room, basically lean-to type of farmhouse.
Right.
And took over, and this happened like in the 1890s or something. I'm like, I'm like, Jesus, I mean, this stuff really happened in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, and it's the stuff I come across, I'm like, oh man, I wish I was working on that case, or
right,
man, it must have been something to do this investigation. So yeah, I am surprised by a lot of not so much the stuff that happens in the city, but I am surprised about some of the stuff that's happened in rural America, so to speak.
Yeah, I can imagine. So for those that don't know, you and your co-star medium Amy Allen, you guys travel all across the United States. You guys help individuals that are having unexplainable, paranormal phenomena in the house or their place of business, per se. The twist is that you investigate, of course, the history, the land, the building, the house. You examine all the police records, census records. I'm sure medical records in some cases too. I'm sure. And then separately, Amy does her thing, and she goes into the place and she picks up what she can, from her mediumistic, powers and abilities. And then together, you guys come together and kind of, formulate what you guys found together. That's pretty much how the whole show comes together, right, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it. I mean, me and her don't talk at all. We don't even stay in the same hotel. And at the end of end of the case, that's the only time we see each other. Once in a while, we'll run into each other on at the airport, but there's nothing. Our show is what it is. There's nothing. I got 2 things going for me: my integrity and my reputation, and I'm not going to do anything to damage either one of those things just to be on television.
No, I understand.
So when people always ask me, oh, is it legit? She legit, or you guys really don't talk? I'm like, no, it's legit, and we don't talk. I mean, why would I jeopardize anything I've worked so hard my entire life for?
Of course.
Just to fake something on TV. I mean, I'm not making any life-changing money. Yeah. I live in a very humble home,
Right.
I mean, my divorce killed me, but, that's another story.
That's another story.
But for me, being on TV is not what it's cracked up to be. People think it's all a life of glamour and glitz, and it's really not.
It's a lot of hard
work
every
week, and
it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. And speaking of which, I mean, you're doing this investigating. Like I said, you're going through all this information, all these records, and all that. They have to condense these episodes, of course, into an hour, 45 minutes. Of course, you take out the commercials and stuff like that. How long does it normally take you to actually do all your investigating on your side?
I film about 60 to 70 hours of footage a week.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay.
Just me doing interviews takes about 60 to 70 hours.
Wow.
Probably an interview will last an hour, and you'll see 2 minutes of it on air.
That's crazy.
Some interviews last an hour and a half. You'll see 2 minutes and a half on there. And I get it. It's part of TV. It's what it is. But I get frustrated sometimes, and I'm like, well, why? I'm like a monkey just sitting there that just says, "Yeah, wow, yes,
Right.
oh,
Yes. Yeah.
But it's television. It is what it is. But yeah, we put 80 hours total in a week of all the filming, and that gets condensed to 42 to 44 minutes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And with the reveals anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, depending. Mostly 4 hours is probably the average.
Right.
And there's only 9 minutes of it on air.
That's correct.
So,
yeah. Again, we're talking with Steve DiSchiavi from the Travel Channel's The Dead Files, which airs on Fridays at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Steve, you've given me a lot of information.
Yeah, I gotta correct you on that. We're actually on Thursdays now.
Oh, Thursdays. I'm sorry.
And no, it's fine. Listen, it's never but anybody's fault that's a fan of the show, because they've changed us from Friday to Saturday, back to Friday, then even put us on Sunday for a little bit. Now we've been on Thursdays for the last, I guess, 8, 9 months, 10 months. But we are now airing on Thursdays, but the new show starts July 11th, and it's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern Time, not 10.
9 p.m. Okay,
that's a new, just to give the fans an idea of what's going on. It's supposed to be June 13th for the season premiere at 10 p.m., but then they changed it to July 11th, and it's going to be 9 p.m.
So you got it there.
Whether that's good or bad, we don't know.
No, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, my friend. Now, listen, you filmed over 10 seasons already now? You're headed into your 11th, right? If I'm not mistaken.
The 11th is being aired in July 11th. We just finished filming that last week, the last episode of season 11. We're actually heading out next week to do the beginning of season 12, 2 episodes. Then we're going to shut down for about 5 weeks, then go back out and finish up season 12.
Oh, wow. So you guys are already ahead of schedule there. Yeah, wow. So all these seasons that you've done, let me ask you this. How long did it take you to realize how legit Amy was? I mean, she is spot on with a lot of this information, huh?
Yeah. I wouldn't have started the show if I didn't think she was legit.
Yeah.
I would have never even signed the papers. I would have never done it. If I thought she had any doubt of credibility, I would have never done the show.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like I said, it's not worth it to me, but she's definitely 100% legit.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing how dead on she is when it comes to the things that she picks up and how it corroborates with a lot of the information that, of course, that you research and you find out and you're investigating as well. I've always wanted to ask you, when you go to these locations and you do your, investigating and you do your interviews of, individuals, have you ever encountered a situation where you were not maybe so welcomed in an area, maybe because you were looking into a certain place or maybe into an event and people were kind of like not so welcome about, sharing information?
No. Well, in a different context, some people will reach out to certain police departments and they want nothing to do with talking to me about an open case or a case from the past, or I'll reach out to people that used to live in the home to find out if they had any experiences. You get shut down a lot with them, or you call a next of kin on somebody that was murdered or lived in the house and died. They'll shut you down.
Right.
It's stuff like that that's happened. But the people that will talk to me are usually very helpful and very forthcoming with what they have to say. And and that's what makes the show. Obviously, I want it from the horse's mouth. I would love to talk to next of kin, or I would love to talk to a descendant, rather than a historian or a genealogist, obviously. But you can't have everything. And sometimes we get flack from next door neighbors, like, "What the hell are you doing here? You're going to ruin our neighborhood." That type of thing.
Exactly.
But,
well, I get that, and I understand that completely. Let me ask you this: when you interview these people, in their homes or businesses, you seem to get a lot of genuine feeling and pain and anguish that some of them are struggling through. It's very apparent through the video. And out of all your cases, which one, after you interviewed that person, you felt like there was no doubt about whatever they told you was completely 100% true?
You mean as far as me believing the client?
Yes.
100% truthful?
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to answer. It's very tough. Well, the woman in Waxahachie, Texas, who thought she wanted this house and it killed her. She felt it killed her husband. She was a heartbreaker, and she could have told me the moon was green, and I would have believed her.
Right.
That's how genuine of a woman she was, and stuff like that. Yeah, it's hard. I don't believe anybody 100%. I don't care who they are.
Well, that's what I was kind of alluding to, because I'm sure your bullshit meter is probably pretty good.
Yeah. I've got I don't believe anybody 100%, and if you can't, it's just the nature of the beast. And 20-something years of being in law enforcement, it's just hard for me to buy into anything 100%. It's just not in my nature, and it's usually for a good reason. So
yeah, I get it. I totally understand. So one of the Steve, one of the most thrilling parts of the show is when you guys do the reveal of the sketch that Amy described through the artist of the said person or entity that may be threatening the house or business. Those are pretty intense. Now, especially when she describes them and describes what they're doing to these individuals. When you reveal these things, has there been any of one of those that have actually stuck with you, that have been like one of those that just like, ugh, yeah, I remember that one. That one will stick with me for a long time.
It's hard to say, but there was the one in Santa Quin, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
We did the Leslie Treehouse Restaurant, I think was the name of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw something that looked like something out of a friggin' movie that the sketch artist portrayed really well. So that one always stuck with me.
Okay.
A couple of times, there's always been, there's always that eerie effect, like it's something that could be out of a horror movie, but I can't pinpoint anything. But like that one in Santa Quin, Utah, is definitely one example of a sketch that I'll always remember.
Yeah. Well, again, we're talking with Steve DiSchiavi from the Travel Channel's The Dead Files, which will start airing July 11th, and that will be Thursday at 9 o'clock. So, yeah, please check that out then, the season premiere. And another thing, Steve, I always see a reoccurring theme in a lot of these cases. There's a lot of these couples that live in a place together, and it seems to be like there's always one of the two that seems to be like kind of stuck on the house or obsessed with the house, and maybe in some like almost in a unhealthy way, almost to the detriment to their relationship. When you can and you turn those both around, do you see that like almost like a double victory to you guys? I mean, I'm sure you guys do, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. A lot of times me and Amy will kid with each other and say, we're more marriage counselors half the time than we are doing what we do.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the family dynamics, a lot of it, in my opinion, a lot of the stuff that's going on has nothing to do with the paranormal, but, it is what it is. And, I mean, to us, it's always, a good feeling either way. I mean, it's just, we can help on both ends. It's always nice.
Yes, of course. One thing, Steve, that I don't recall if it's ever been mentioned or it's been talked about on the show, but what is your stance on the paranormal prior to this show and then after doing this show? I mean, they really know.
See, this is the big misclaimer about me. I've never said I didn't believe in the paranormal. I never ever once said I didn't believe in the paranormal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an open-minded skeptic. My attitude about the paranormal has not changed, other than knowing that Amy's changed my outlook on the afterlife. That's the only thing. Because I was raised Roman Catholic, right?
Yeah.
Italian family, raised in New York. You're raised there's heaven, hell, and purgatory, right?
Right, of course.
And that's all you know. So when you're a kid, if you're not good, you're going to go to hell. If you're good, you go to heaven.
Right.
Whatever, right? So for me, I've kind of lost my religion as I got older in life, and I'm more spiritual than I am religious. And I never really thought about it anymore. And then, working with Amy, I'm like, well, Christ, now I got a whole new outlook on what the hell happens to you after you die.
Of course.
Where am I going to go? Am I going to get stuck now? Am I going to be in, my death state? Stuff like that you never thought of. So that stuff has changed my outlook on things. But as far as the paranormal goes, I always believed that stuff happened. to the degree people say it happens, that's a lot of bullshit.
Right.
For most people. But, because, the light bulb went out. Oh, it's demons,
Doesn't mean
I've had.
Yeah, doesn't mean there's a ghost coming by. Right. It means that the light bulb might be going out pretty soon.
Yeah.
No,
every little thing's the paranormal. Oh, you're not going to believe what happened today. I saw this floating orb. And the house is a filthy mess. There's dust everywhere. You ever think maybe it's that?
Yeah, maybe clean up a little bit, right?
Yeah. So I just kind of
oh, it's hilarious.
I just go with the flow. But that's, I've never not believed in the paranormal, and not because I'm working in Amy do I think any different other than how I feel about the afterlife.
Yeah, no, that's great insight. I do appreciate that. And speaking of which, you've done over, what you said, 11 seasons, doing 12 now. Out of all these seasons, Steve, I mean, which one of these episodes have stand out? I mean, I'm sure there's probably a handful, but, one out of those handful, maybe pick one that have made the biggest impression on you.
It's hard to say an impression more than, see, from my end of it, it's more about the families and the people what they're going through, like, not so much what I've encountered, or but what they've encountered. Like that woman I was just talking about in Waxahachie, Texas.
Right.
I'll never forget her.
Mm-hmm.
She just has a place in my heart, and she'll always be there. There was a family in Brownsville, North Carolina, Brown Summit, North Carolina, who had a daughter that was special needs that was sobbed every day because she just wanted the paranormal there to take her and leave everybody alone. I mean, it was just heartbreaking.
Wow. Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then you got the Santa Fe prison episode that always sticks out in my head, because that was, I got to interview an inmate that was there when the riot happened. It was in there for murder, so I was kind of like back in my wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that stick out to me. It's not so much location, but how I felt about the client, or how I felt about the individual investigation. Like we did a case in, I think it was Oregon, Illinois. It was one of those weird cities where it was named after a state.
Right.
The city. But we
you.
did a case where there was an open homicide that the guy was a former mayor of the town and owned this restaurant. And he insisted, he spent all this money, had the body exhumed, and he insisted that he knew what happened. So I kind of during that case, I talked to a detective, and we kind of went through the whole thing together, and at the end of the day, me and the detective came up with our own theory, and Amy actually agreed with my theory.
Oh, wow.
And this guy was kind of pissed because he was like, well, I spent all this money and I believe this. And so in his head, no matter what, I think so that case kind of stuck out.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And listen, Steve, you've done such a great job on this show. I really want to thank you and congratulate you on your
I appreciate
success.
that.
And man, listen, keep going with it. And one last thing, I know for a fact you are a cigar connoisseur. I know because I've seen your Instagram. Please, what's your favorite? I want to know.
You see, it also depends on the mood I'm in, but my go-to cigar that I always have in my humidor is probably my Gloria Cubana Series R.
Nice.
And I have it in usually the Maduro wrapper or a brown wrapper and the 5, 6, and 7-inch sizes. But in my 60 ring gauge, I like a big round cigar. So yeah, my Gloria Cubana Series R is probably they're a little bold though, so if somebody's just learning how to smoke cigars, you're not going to want to smoke that one.
No, you'll get sick on those. Trust me, I know. Well, Steve, listen, thank you so much for coming on Dark Fringe Radio. Again, you can catch Steve on the Travel Channel's The Dead Files. It's going to be premiering on July 11th, Thursday at 9:00 p.m. Please make sure you check that out. And Steve, where can they find you on Instagram and anywhere else?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram. And you know what? Lately, I've been kind of shying away from my Facebook page is full. I used to have a public image page, but I shut it down.
Yeah.
So I'm either on Twitter at Steve DiSchiavi or on Instagram at Steve DiSchiavi. So, either way, you can get a hold of me.
Very good.
And I interact mostly with fans on either Twitter or Instagram.
Okay. Well, very good, Steve.
find Instagram to be a lot of fun, so that's where I'm mostly at.
Yeah, it's a lot more easier and interactive. But yeah, listen, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Steve. And listen, thank you again, and have a great night.
I appreciate you having me on, Will. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Take care of yourself. All right, Dark Fringe Radio listeners, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Mr. Steve DiSchiavi of the Dead Files from Travel Channel. And it was a great interview. And again, I thank you, Steve, for coming on the podcast. And hopefully we could have you on again in the future. So, Jay, next thing on our list before we leave and depart our listeners for tonight is a little segment we call What to Watch. And, of course, Jay, you are the the maestro of What to Watch. Do you have anything for us this week for What You Watch?
I do. I actually have a very interesting one that caught me completely by surprise.
Let's hear it.
I'm not into all anime, but ones that are really good I find really entertaining. Mm-hmm. And there's a new show on Netflix called Baki.
Mm.
And it's basically about this 17-year-old who has won an underground martial arts tournament. And now he basically ends up in a different underground tournament where it's not just underground. It's these almost supernatural fighters can come out at any time against other martial artists. And this kid Baki is like the number one on the hit list because he won this prestigious tournament.
Mm.
It is very graphic. The fight scenes are pretty entertaining. The backgrounds they set for them are funny. The whole storyline as it goes, it's very entertaining. It's it's done in a weird style, even for Japanese anime. Which usually my issue with the anime is the overexposure, how they over commentate. But in this one, it kind of fits the way they have the stories kind of woven into each scene, to let you know how badass this one particular person is, or what some of their background is, or how they come to end up with some of these almost supernatural powers. But if I'm honest, the funniest part of the whole thing is I started watching it with the subtitles on, thinking it was going to be all in Japanese.
No,
but it's dubbed, so the audio is in English.
Okay.
And the subtitles were English.
Okay.
But they were not telling the same story.
Yeah, I hate that, man. I've seen so many movies that way, like what you're talking about, and the audio not matching up with what's written bugs the fuck out of me so much.
See, I thought it was going to bug the fuck out of me, and maybe it was just because I had enjoyed some Herbal Awakening.
Yeah.
But I was enjoying seeing the two different stories play out, because it's not just that it didn't match up, but it was like kind of along the same lines.
Right.
Like it was not even close. It was not even close. And it was fucking hysterical. Because I'm listening to what they're saying while reading these words, and one's like, oh yeah, I think you guys got the idea of who you're messing with, and then on the subtitles it would say, something along the lines of, I'm not the one to fuck with. I'll kick your asshole through your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, those are two different things.
Yeah, totally different things.
And that's just a slight example. Like there was one where they're talking about, this one Yakuza boss and how he got the power of the Yakuza. But in one, he's a Yakuza boss, and in the other, he was just like a CEO of a powerful financial building. Like it was fucking hysterical. So once I turn off subtitles, I still enjoyed the show. It's still funny as hell to watch. Like I said, the background that they go into, the artistry, the characters, it's got some of that goof that anime just has, that naturally goofy kind of like the faces and the sounds they make. This one I think is really well done. The artistry is fantastic. Even though there's some incontinuity with the size of certain fighters from some scenes to the next, or their general build, and the neck's a little bit weird, but I still find it to be really well animated. The storyline is really entertaining and intriguing, and then all the additional stuff in the background is just fantastic. So Baki on Netflix. Everybody should watch it. It is fucking hilarious.
Awesome. Okay, that's a great suggestion, Jay. And this week, I'm going to suggest, of course, because of our guest this week, The Dead Files on the Travel Channel. You heard all about it earlier in the interview. Of course, it's a great show. It's been on for 10 seasons. I think, personally, Jay, when we talk about paranormal investigations, I think the way they do it is the proper way to do it. I think having an individual such as Steve, who is, completely, atypical minded, where, he is doing the investigation, he's doing all the paperwork, he's doing all the research, he's finding out about the history of the building, who built it, when was it built, who died there, medical records, all this, this hard stuff that you actually have to go through, this material. And then you have a completely different person in Amy Allen, who is a medium and is able to pick up on a lot of different things and that's happened in the house, whether it's somebody who's died or some type of negative energy that may be lurking there as well. So I believe personally that way of investigating is probably the most authentic and maybe proper way to do an investigation, because you have two different individuals who have completely different mindsets, going in to the investigation part, and being able to take out a lot of information from what they're able to come up with. So to me, Jay, it's probably one of the most premier paranormal shows on television, just because of the uniqueness of how they do their investigation. So I definitely urge everybody to check that out on the Travel Channel. Check out The Dead Files. So that's it for this week, Jay. Anything else to add for the outro?
That's it. We appreciate everybody for listening. We appreciate everybody's continued and growing support. Keep the letters coming in for the mailbag, letting us know questions, comments, being part of the conversation. This is what we do. We're all about awakening everybody's mind to being open to new and different ideas, seeing what can be different, because the more we communicate, the more we understand each other, the better society will be, and ultimately that's what we're looking for.
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to mention before we leave for this week is our website. We just revamped our website, Jay, and we've made it look very professional. It's starting to really shape up, and it's a completely revamping of what it looked like before. But you can check us out at darkfringeradio.wordpress.com. Again, that's darkfringeradio.wordpress.com. And you follow us there. Check out our website. There's a lot of information there. You can see where there's links to every different avenue for our podcast to listen to. So it has all the links there, Jay, for Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, iTunes. It's all there, Jay. So when somebody goes to our website, they can just go there and just go down to where it says click the the link to listen, and it takes you right to the podcast, to which one you choose. So make sure you guys utilize that, and we hope you guys enjoy that website, and please make sure you do check that out. So that's it for this week, Jay, for Dark Fringe Radio. Again, I am Will Martinez for Jay Galosi. We'll see you again next week.
Of this was new, concentrating hard like a little girl, smoking for the first time. It wasn't a moment, it was a feeling of moving back. I've had nothing like it since, and oh, where did it go? And oh, where did it go? Spent a hot trigger, the atmosphere was filled, a lot of fluid and dirt seemed to be traveling face down. It smelled like warm graphite, swollen tongue and heart.